It's been a long wait, 25 years. But finally, hopefully, we will get justice for Melissa.
A Georgia man is now standing trial for the cold case murder of his wife, Melissa Wolfenbarger.
I've gathered the facts, and I collaborated with the DA's office and was able to get the facts together to come up with the probable cause to arrest Christopher Wolfenbarger.
We have finally made it. He's in custody. And now we just need to get over the last hurdle and get him convicted.
Christopher claimed back in 1998 that Melissa left on her own accord and never returned, but was arrested in August 2024, 25 years after Melissa's remains and severed head were found in trash bags.
I'm pretty sure it's domestic violence. He was captured in his home in Griffin. He hid. It took the detectives a little while to find him, and they found him, I believe, hiding behind a dryer.
Police also suspected Melissa's father, Carl Patton, a serial killer who committed 5 murders across Georgia from 1973 to 1977. News Nation's Ashley Banfield spoke with Melissa's mother about his reaction to the arrest of Christopher.
He was devastated when he found out she had been murdered, but he was deliriously happy as soon as he found out Chris had been arrested.
Christopher, who has pleaded not guilty, now faces life in prison for the murder of his wife, but her family says they knew since day one that he was responsible.
From day one, we knew it was Christopher. There was never, ever any doubt in our minds who did this.
This is On the Record, where we cut through the drama and get you to the biggest moments from the biggest trials right here at Court TV. Now, day one set the tone. Before jurors even sat down, the lawyers clashed. Should Melissa's father, the infamous Flint River killer, be part of this story? The state said Chris was violent and controlling, but the defense argued the case was full of holes. And then jurors heard it all: missing evidence, family abuse, and Chris bragging that he knew how to get rid of a body.
You're going to hear that Mr. Wolfenbarger's father essentially pled guilty to the murder himself. They both were murders himself. And when he was arrested, it was a notorious publication. It was a notorious arrest. It barred a lot of detention. Carl Patton, as the lead detective, when he was arrested, after he confessed that the dog was missing to 3 years and no leads, he asked if he could fire his dog. The detective contacted both the county medical examiner's office. We had this unidentified skull they found 3 years ago. And with Carl Patton stated they obtained the dental records from Wolfenbarger's dentist. Looked at the x-rays, looked at the fillings, looked at the dimensions of the teeth, and was able to make a conclusive determination that the skull that was found in 1999 wasn't in fact the skull that belonged to Mr. Wolfenbarger, because dental records matched the transition from the skull.
Melissa's father, Carl Patton, committed a string of murders in the late 1970s. He was suspected of those murders for a long time. He was investigated, but they were not prosecuted and proved until 2003, 4 years after Melissa's disappearance and death. You'll be presented with evidence that Norma Patton, his wife, helped him directly commit at least 2 of those murders, to dispose of the bodies, to clean up the crime scenes, and to wrap up the bodies and dispose of them in ways that are somewhat similar to the way Melissa's remains were found. One of the reasons Melissa originally gave for giving her children up was that she did not want her parents to have anything to do with her children, because they are bad people.
We were sitting having breakfast one morning, me, Melissa, Chris, Troy, and there's another waitress sitting there, Diane, having a conversation, talking about whatever. And then all of a sudden, Chris pops off with, well, I know how to get rid of a body if I need to. And me, Diane, and Troy looked at each other like, what?
Didn't you just tell us that Christopher used to work and spend the day on the roofs with your father?
And
your father was convicted of murders he committed back in 1970s.
So, my
And he used-
dad never said anything like that.
How do you know? Were you on the roof with Chris?
My dad would never say anything like that.
I'm asking you, were you on the roof with Chris?
No, I wasn't.
You weren't there when he spent time with your father.
No,
And you don't know what your father might have boasted about.
my dad never boasted about what he did.
Not around you, correct?
They never talked about what he did.
You can only talk about what you know, correct?
I know my dad never talked about what they did.
Now on day 2, testimony got a little personal. A coworker said Chris borrowed a saw that was never returned, and a neighbor described bruises and late-night fights. And when Chris was finally arrested, body cam video showed him crouched up, hiding behind a wine rack.
What type of tools did you use at the company?
We have table saws, skill saws, sawzalls.
Now, during your time as owner at Action Glass, did you ever have an employee by the name of Christopher Wolfenbarger?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did he work for the company?
October of 97 to February of 98.
Why did he stop working there?
I let him go that day. He'd wrecked my van.
Is it fair to say that after letting go, he never returned with that saw that he borrowed?
Not to my knowledge.
When they were living together, would you hear anything going on at their house?
Arguing, bad language, and then you might hear something break or something like that.
Did you ever see this woman with any injuries?
I seen her like a bruise up under her eye because she had shades on. That was it.
Did you ever talk to Chris about not seeing her at the house anymore?
No, we just asked Chris where his wife was, and he said that she was leaving him.
Well, they breached the door, and I kind of maneuvered around, and I noticed on the right side of it there was like a wine rack that appeared to be loose. So I started manipulating it and kind of saw that it was moving a little bit, and I was using my gun and flashlight on my gun to kind of peer underneath it, and I maneuvered a little bit more to the right, and when I looked inside, I could see Mr. Wolfenbarger hunched over. I could see his back, and he was hunched over, hiding.
Do you know the name Christopher Wolfenbarger?
Yes,
How do you know that name?
Melissa started seeing him when she got into high school.
Were you aware of an arrest that occurred on the defendant, Christopher Wolfenbarger, in July of 1998?
Yes,
Okay. Are you aware of why that arrest occurred?
he had knocked her down and dragged her along the sidewalk. I saw her November 9th, 1998. Just the last time I saw her.
At any point, do you make any attempts to contact law enforcement?
Not right away. I did another month or so, I guess. It actually took me till the whole year of 1999 to be able to convince everybody that something was wrong.
Was there anything else that happened in 2003 of significance?
Yes,
Okay, what is that?
Melissa's father was arrested.
Okay. What was he arrested for?
He was arrested for murder. Bruce Jordan wanted me to help him and to talk to him about what Carl had done. And I told him if he wanted my help, that he needed to find my daughter
Okay.
because she was missing. Carl was arrested on the morning of February 23rd, and I was told on March 17th that Melissa had been found and ID'd.
Day 3 turned emotional. Melissa's daughter revealed she grew up believing that her grandparents were her real parents. A former co-worker said he saw signs of abuse, and a retired detective walked jurors through the cold case investigation that unraveled Chris's shifting stories.
You despised Christopher from the very first time you saw him. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
You said that you didn't like the way his eyes looked.
Right.
Now, you've mentioned that your husband, Carl Patton, eventually confessed to murdering 5 people. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you involved with some of Mr. Patton's murders?
I helped him dispose of the body.
Okay. Okay, so you were involved.
Yes,
Okay. For some of the murders, you were not involved. Is that correct?
that's correct.
But you overheard Carl making plans for them.
Yes,
So you were aware of several of the details of Carl Patton's murders.
yes.
Did you think that was a red flag about your husband?
I loved my husband.
And you didn't go directly to the police when you overheard your husband discussing murdering somebody?
No, I did not.
You in fact helped Carl plan the killing of Joe and Liddy, didn't you?
Yes,
Where did he kill them at?
in our living room.
And did you help Carl dispose of those bodies that you killed in your house?
Yes,
And if you had this much involvement with your husband, why weren't you prosecuted also?
I was given immunity for my testimony against him.
He was convicted, correct?
Correct.
And he was sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences.
Yes,
You believed as soon as Christopher got put in jail, you think Carl would get to come back home to you, correct?
that's what I had hoped. Yes,
And you worked tirelessly for years trying to get Christopher arrested, didn't you?
yes.
Was there any animosity or anger as a result of the, I guess, your action of testifying against your husband?
No,
And why not?
he wanted me to do what I did and testify against it so that I would be able to raise my 2 grandkids.
How did the news of the indictment of this defendant for the murder of your daughter, how was that received?
He was very happy.
Why would you say that?
Well, because Chris was going to have to face up to what he did.
She had lots of photo albums, so I pulled some down, started going through the pictures, and saw a lot more pictures of the same woman that had been in that picture.
And when you saw these photos of that same woman, what did you do?
Wanted to go to Kathy and ask her about them. She packed them up. She didn't want to talk about it.
Now, did Manny ever explain to you who the lady was in those pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that how you thought your mother was?
Yes, ma'am.
Was Dana ever able to tell you about the relationship between your biological mother and Chris?
She explained it was very troubled. I was on Facebook and on the People You May Know. I saw my mom's picture and it had her name as if it was her Facebook page. It explained that, we've been fighting for justice. I was told that it was her family, the Pattons, that have been running the page.
By day 4, the focus was on investigators. A detective recalled the moment Melissa's skull was identified in 2003, a discovery that reopened everything. Cold case detective said Chris stood out immediately, not because he was grieving, but because he wasn't. And jurors saw the haunting reality. Melissa's remains bagged and discarded, discovered near Chris's home and work.
At any point, did you and your team, and specifically referring you to the initiation of the cold case unit in Fulton County DA's office, did you begin to investigate the disappearance of Melissa Wolfenbarger? Yes. We ended up having select funds for testing and for DNA testing. The evidence was basically where the severed head was found in a trash bag.
You said that one of the items you sent in for DNA testing was the bag that the head had been in.
I believe so. I'd really like to see the list.
Go ahead and read the results.
Yes. On this one, it says Christopher Wolfenbarger is excluded as a possible contributor to the mixture obtained from item 8.1. Did you look into the background and lifestyle of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
I did.
And at the time you came into the investigation, did you have a suspect in mind, a person of interest?
Yes.
And who was that?
Christopher Wolfenbarger.
And was there anything about the background of Melissa Wolfenbarger and her lifestyle that led you to focus on Christopher Wolfenbarger?
Yes, they had a violent, tumultuous relationship between the two.
Is it your testimony that at some point assault became important in your investigation?
It's very important in my investigation.
All right. Did you observe remains and what appeared to be marks on the remains?
Yes.
At any point in your investigation, did you make an attempt to see if the defendant had been in possession of a saw at some point?
I did.
What efforts did you make to determine that?
I interviewed his former employers. Christopher was terminated because it was believed that he stole a saw, a reciprocal saw.
Okay. So they recalled this up?
Correct.
They recalled in, I guess, a belief at that time that he took it?
Correct.
And they also recalled never receiving the saw back. Is that also correct?
Correct.
Clearly, he didn't get along with her parents.
He stated that. That's correct.
Okay. But, I mean, that wouldn't come as a surprise, would it?
I'm not surprised if anybody's in a tumultuous, rocky, violent relationship. I haven't seen a couple that's had a good relationship with any parents involved in that.
So you don't find it surprising that he had a difficult time relating to the family, to the parents who had committed 5 murders, thrown them in a river. There was a baby who died in their home.
So because Melissa was from this type of family, that gave her permission to be a victim of a domestic violence? I don't think so.
That rhetorical question doesn't answer my question.
Again, because she was a victim of her family and their wrongdoings does not give Christopher or anybody a right to place her in an abusive relationship. So
I'm going to ask you to stop the answer because my question had nothing to do with whether Mr. Wolfenbarger had the right to do anything. And he denies doing anything.
Day 5 brought 3 key voices to the stand. Jurors heard a scratchy old recording the defense called torture to listen to. A domestic violence expert explained how abusers trap victims in cycles of control, and the chief medical examiner walked through the grim evidence. Melissa's fractured skull, saw marks on her bones, and body parts bagged and hidden. Now, she couldn't say exactly how Melissa died, but she made it clear that this was no natural death.
The biggest misconception, if the survivor leaves the relationship, the abuse will stop. And that is not true. The data shows that's the most lethal time in the relationship. That is when the survivor is under the most danger and most likely to be killed. So that is a misconception. The abuse does not stop just because someone leaves the relationship. This person has exerted power and control, and the victim or the survivor feels as if they have to stay and remain in this relationship. Also, there's a component of fear and protection, protection of children, protection of self, protection of family members. It's many different dynamics of domestic violence why someone would remain in that cycle of abuse.
Is it unusual for a victim, for a survivor of domestic violence, to withdraw or ask for a temporary protective order to be dismissed or withdrawn?
It's not unusual.
Why not?
The survivor may believe the perpetrator has changed. This is not necessary. This is we're overdoing it.
Your testimony, in essence, is an opinion based on a lot of experience in teaching and meeting with people and reading about the characteristics of abusive relationships, correct?
Yes.
Do you recognize those images as being associated with the remains of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Yes, I do. This is a decomposing head that was in the roadway. On the left side of the skull, there were some fractures, and there was some bone in the roadway that were described in the report, as well as in an adjacent plastic bag. It appeared that the skull had been struck by a vehicle.
What does that tell you, the absence of insect activity, maggots, fly larvae on the skull of Melissa Wolfenbarger?
Given the condition of the skull, that it was somehow protected from insects getting to it, flies getting to it. Understanding that there was a plastic bag nearby, most likely it had been in that plastic bag soon before it wound up in the roadway, because otherwise flies would have been attracted to it.
If this skull had been out for a day or a full day, you would expect to find insect activity?
Yes, I would expect flies to have gotten to it and have laid eggs on it.
Is it likely that Melissa Wolfenbarger died of natural causes?
The body's dismembered. There's an attempt to conceal by placing it in plastic bags. As far as I know, she was a young female. I have no information about any significant health conditions, but even so, the fact that she's dismembered and concealed is very suspicious for some sort of non-natural death.
The marks and the cuts, do you have a determination as to whether they're ante or post-mortem?
It's most likely post-mortem.
And why is that?
Well, first of all, we don't see any discoloration of flesh associated with that. Second of all, just in terms of practically speaking, it would be very hard to dismember somebody while they're alive.
Chris Wolfenbarger's own mother took the stand on day 6, recalling how Melissa once gave her custody of the kids. Now, after Christmas 1998, when Melissa disappeared, she admitted, despite concerns, she never called police. Now, jurors also heard a chilling detail. Christopher once boasted he knew how to dispose of a body by burying it in concrete.
Do you know the defendant?
I do.
How do you know him?
He's my son.
Are you familiar with that document?
Yes.
And can you describe what that document is?
Melissa giving me temporary custody of the children.
Did she give you any reason why she was choosing you as opposed to someone else?
She does not want them down her parents' house.
When Chrissy and Joey were younger, isn't true you wanted them to call you mother or mom?
No, they just called me mom, but they knew I was their grandmother.
Did you ever tell Chrissy or Joey about Melissa after she disappeared?
I told them we would go look for her, but we didn't know where to go look.
Okay, so you told them that she had left and that you would go look for her.
Yeah.
But you never went to go look for her?
We didn't know where she was at.
After Christmas of 1998, when you didn't see her anymore, did you have any concern about her whereabouts?
Yes.
Did you call the police or anyone to see that she was missing or to report that she was missing?
No.
To your knowledge, did your son call to tell anyone that his wife is missing?
I'm pretty sure he did. I mean, I don't know.
Do you wish to testify in this case, or do you not wish to testify?
I do not.
In light of the state's having rested its case, we would move the court for a directed verdict of not guilty on both counts. On malice murder, the state has not proven it has not given any evidence of a cause of death. They have not shown any evidence that Christopher caused Melissa's death. They've not shown any evidence that she died unlawfully. In neither case have they proved an intent to carry out either an aggravated assault or a murder with malice aforethought.
I think that the fact that this defendant was aware that Melissa Wolfenbarger was seeing an individual he referred to as Mike, who we heard testimony from and confirmed and corroborated that. The fact that she was having an affair is another form of motive, possible motive for this defendant to murder Melissa Wolfenbarger. And we also know from Melissa's mother, the letters, and this defendant's own mouth that Melissa planned on leaving this defendant.
I agree with you absolutely regarding the murder charge, that there is evidence from which there's evidence in the record that would create issues for a jury regarding the fact that homicide occurred and the fact that Mr. Wolfenbarger may or may not have caused that homicide, which are issues for the jury. So I'm going to deny your motion.
Do you remember at some point the defendant making a comment while watching a TV show that he knew how to dispose of a body by burying it under concrete or something to that effect?
It wasn't necessarily from a TV show. It was more so we were discussing about how Carl had gotten away with other murders, and we were talking about different scenarios. And my sister had walked in later on, kind of caught half of the conversation, and kind of been standoffish about the conversation.
Now, day 7 centered around closing arguments, cutting to the heart of the case. Prosecutors argued Christopher Wolfenbarger's control escalated to murder, pointing to bruises, restraining orders, and Melissa's dismembered remains.
This case is about the tumultuous relationship between this defendant and our victim, Melissa. He wasn't able to control her, and when he lost control, he murdered her.
The defense countered, saying that there was no cause of death, no direct link tying Christopher to Melissa's disappearance, and plenty of other possible suspects.
That man right there is so brilliant. He can pull off a mastermind murder. He didn't leave a shred of DNA. He didn't leave a shred of carpet fiber, hair fiber, pubic hair. He didn't leave a shred of anything that our most powerful forensic machines can pick up. Not one shred. And then was dumb enough to dump the body right by where he was. The pool of potential suspects is a chasm. I don't have to find one and bring it to you and say, this guy did it, and I can prove it to you beyond reasonable doubt. You just have to be able to understand it could have been anybody, and that's reasonable. And that's where people like Carl Patton do come in, and Norma Patton. The whole thing about the 5 murders and the dumping bodies in the river and the covering it up for many, many years. But we also find out that one of his victims was a drug dealer that Carl worked for. We also find out that he engaged in contract killing. We also find out that there was a member of their family in some common law way whose father Carl had killed. And he didn't find out until sometime later. This same man also hung out in that household, was friends with the Patton family, and later was accused of molesting Melissa. Does this man have a motive to get revenge against Carl? Yes. Does he have a motive to get revenge against Norma and even Melissa? Yes. Is it reasonable to believe he could have been involved? Absolutely.
When the jury returned after only 2 hours and minutes of deliberating, the courtroom fell silent. The judge warned the gallery filled with family and friends of both Chris and Melissa to control any outbursts. And after weeks of emotional testimony, graphic evidence, and the haunting mystery of Melissa's final days, Christopher Wolfenbarger learned his fate.
The state of Georgia versus Christopher Wolfenbarger, case number 24 SC 004201. Count 1, we the jury find the defendant not guilty. This 22nd day of August 2025. Will the state and defense counsel please come up and look at the verdict form and confirm that you have no objection to the form or legality of the verdict?
Now, in the end, 7 days was all it took. A case built on suspicion unraveled in front of the jury, and Christopher Wolfenbarger walked free. But the questions about what really happened to Melissa still linger, casting a long shadow over this verdict. And with that, I'm Cody Thomas. Now stay safe, stay informed, and join us next time we go back on the record.